Welcome to So Guided, a spiritual travel guide for the curious. Join Carissa and Jenny, ordinary people exploring all the extraordinary ways we can connect to the universe. Each week, they investigate another spiritual modality and adventure through all the wild ways we can find high vibes, hope, and ultimately, enlightenment.
Hello and welcome to So Guided. This is season 2. Welcome back. It's been a very, very long time, and we are so excited to kick off this season with some haunted house stories. Spoiler alert, apparently Jenny and I have both lived in haunted houses throughout our lives, and potentially Jenny is living in one right now. So we found somebody who can cleanse houses and bless houses. We're going to be doing a classic before and after. But beforehand, we're going to dive into some of the scary things that have happened to us living in some haunted houses. So you guys got questions? So do we. Let's do this. Hello.
Hi.
We are back, everybody.
We're back.
Season 2. We are so excited to finally be back at it and excited to jump right into our weekly woo-woo, I guess.
I guess let's do it.
All right.
You go first.
So I have a quick one. It's actually for you, Jenny.
Oh.
So I was saying goodbye to my little van man, and he was going to school, and he was blowing me kisses, and he was so cute, and I was catching him, and I was jumping around, and then he's like, Mommy, I'm going to blow kisses to the earth, which I think was just the most cutest thing I've ever heard. So he started blowing kisses at the earth, and as he was blowing kisses to the earth, an egret flew above. And I was like, oh, we don't get egrets often. I really don't see them. They're your sign. Mm-hmm. But when I did, I felt like at the time of him blowing kisses to the earth, it was like 100%
I love it. I love it. Well, it is my sign, but you know, globally for universal meaning, an egret is spiritual. So it means you're spiritually connected. So that makes sense for Van in that moment. So hi to me, but it really was for you, and that's super cool.
Right. Well, it made me think of you, but I also was so happy because it was like, oh, as he's blowing kisses to the earth.
I love it.
God.
I love it.
Adorableness.
All right. Well, my sign is a little embarrassing, but I'm going to just go for it. Let's just rip it off. Season 2, we're weird, and that's like just freak flag fly.
Did we say we weren't going to say weird as much?
We did. And I'm coming in hot. Coming in hot. Okay. So mine was, we recently went on a weekend we're going to share with you that was woo-woo and spiritual and wonderful. And one of the takeaways of one of our spiritual encounters was that I am meant to connect with plants. Okay. And they almost made it sound like tinctures would be a thing, like creating them. But there was something about communicating with nature and plants, which is funny because it's not something I felt an affinity for. And even when it was told to me, I kind of was like, all right, plants. But at the same time as thinking that, I do realize that I've always been one of those people, and who isn't when you're in the woods or near trees, and there's something really peaceful about the wind coming through, and they do kind of talk to you. Anyway, not my thing, never been that into it. The other night, I had one of those dreams. It was just one of those you don't forget. It was so strong, it felt like it absolutely happened. In my dream, I was in this in-between land, and there was a magical tree. And the only way I could say it was very much like the movie Pandora.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Was it Pandora?
No, it's not.
Pangea. Avatar.
Yes.
Yeah. So the planet. Okay. So you know that one central tree where they'd connect their their tails and it would connect? It was my version of that. And I was standing on the earth. I was next to a tree that was empowered and beautiful and magical. And I swear it had tendrils. And it reached out for me in my hands. My hands were glowing, and it became one with the flow of my body. And then my legs felt like they were one with the earth. And in this moment, I felt glowy and one with nature. And I'm like, honestly, it sounds so cheesy and weird. I felt it to my core. I literally felt it to my core. I connected with the plant world. And I don't know what it means, but I woke up, and actually I would almost call it almost felt ecstatic. It felt like an ecstasy type feeling. It literally felt good and amazing, and my whole body was tingling, and I woke up still feeling that way. And I'm like, what just happened?
Oh my God. It sounds like one of those dreams, like, you know when people have dreams about like loved ones who have passed away and they wake up and it's so real and you know it like
exactly.
it was like it wasn't like a dream, it was like real. Like that sounds like one of those.
Yes.
So what we have to tell you guys is me and Jenny were literally like, so it's been a while since we've recorded and Jenny's had some busyness and we're moved into her new house and we were looking outside at her lawn and her trees and I had this weird feeling where I said to Jenny, before I knew about her dream, because she just told me this, I'm the first time hearing it, but before we started recording, I said to Jenny, don't you think we should be able to communicate with trees? And I said that because on one of our experiences we've done recently, we met a woman who can talk to plants. And we believed it and we believe it. And we're like, wait, why can't we talk to plants? And I said to Jenny, I'm like, I wish we could I think it's like time we can communicate with plants. And Jenny goes, oh, wait for my weekly woo-woo.
Isn't it so perfect?
Yeah, she had an invitation. She's like, I think I had an invitation. So I'm hearing it for the first time. But how ironic that I actually said, let's do this.
20 minutes ago. We stood on a deck looking at a tree and you just said that. And I was like, oh, I can't wait to tell you my story. And terminology that I had never really heard in the woo-woo world before was an invitation. And I love this. We heard it multiple times where they're like, you have an invitation to explore the plant world or blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I don't know what it means. I've never been that into it, but this dream was so magical and it felt like literally guided and I have to explore.
Oh my God, so
I haven't been meditating yet because I wake up every morning and I have people working in my house. The moment I start meditating under my big oak tree, I have no doubt the tree's talking to me.
Oh my God. Okay, so everyone stay tuned for the season of the weekly woo-woos when Jenny starts hearing the messages from the plants. From the plant, from the Mother Earth. Okay.
Anywho, so that was my woo-woo
great.
and it was just kind of fun full circle for something we had done and then a story you just told. But anyway, today, first of all, we're so happy to be back. Thank you for your patience waiting. We're so excited for so many different stories and content we've got coming your way, but we're ripping it off with one of our favorite subjects. You guys have asked for it too, and it is about haunted houses and house blessings. So we're kind of combining two things here because we both have lived in haunted places. So we're going to tell you some of these stories, but also this is a classic before and after.
Yay.
And we are gearing up to have an actual person come to my house and do a house blessing. We do not know what's going down. We don't know what happens. We just know that someone's coming in to clear it. And bless it. Are they going to find something? Are they not? But I just feel like with all the people in and out of my house for a year that it's such a nice idea to have it cleansed. And we don't know. So we're going to ask her questions and interview her, and that comes next.
Well, and I feel like anytime you have a ton of people in your house, like you want to use sage, you want to use Palo Santo, you want to clear the energy. But I think for you especially, we go above and beyond that for this house because you lived in before you did the renovations. I mean, this was legit looking like a haunted house. I mean, it was kind of like a little bit of everyone was being nice, oh, it's so vintage and old and beautiful. And it was, and it is, but it also definitely had some hauntings going on. You want to share a few things of this particular house?
Well, no, because actually I think this one is the one that was looked that way, but didn't feel it. I think one of the things that I've always loved antique houses. Call them antiques. It sounds lovely. Yeah. I collect antiques. I collect antique houses. So this, I do. You have in my story of my life.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
No, of course.
So this one was 1904, and I don't know much about it. I love this house, but it was more looking haunted. The one thing I will say that I'll never understood is on the attic floor, which was a true creepy from the movies attic, with cobwebs and dead bugs and stuff in it. There was a pipe with a handcuff. So who knows what went
pipes
down
and
here?
Handcuffs.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
so let's clear this house out. But let me bring you down my journey of why I know I need a cleansing. So loving my antiques, let's back it up all the way to San Diego. I lived in a historical house there, and there was with the person we bought our home from, and I don't actually know in the history of our life if I've told you this story. I don't remember.
I think you told it to me years ago when we first became friends. It's because you've always been so into haunted houses. A foreshadowing.
Yes. Okay. So we will see if you remember. Yeah. So back in this time period when I bought the house, I had known a woman and her husband had lived there for their entire life together. They didn't have children, so they were each other's everything. Okay. And she was way older, and she was so personally attached to this house. And when so attached that I never had a showing of the house before we bought it without her. She physically walked with me.
Around?
And it was kind of sad because you knew she had to sell it, but you could tell she didn't want to, but she did. She needed to.
Yeah.
So the reason she was selling it is the love of her life passed away from cancer. So though he didn't pass in this house, I knew that his final days before he went to the hospital and passed was in the home. And so I had knowledge that, it usually wouldn't have because she went on these walkthroughs. So I even knew the room where, in his final days, he would have his whiskey in the window and watch the sunset.
Oh, because she was nostalgically sharing
and
with
she
you.
would share this with me.
Yeah.
And it was definitely obviously I'm an empath and I love people, so I would hug her on her tours, and I knew it was
and she probably wanted someone who cared.
Yeah, although I would say that this lady, both in spirit and in how she acted, ended up being more like a witch, by the way. She was creepy, bad vibes at me. Yeah, so I tried to warm her up.
Did you feel that though when you're walking in the house? Did you get bad vibes from her?
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
Oh, I did. I did. So in any case, we move in, and the first
and she's still alive but living somewhere else.
She's still living. So she's moved out and she's somewhere else. She would return to the house and stare at it from the street. Like a scary horror movie. Stare at us. And she had a dog. She had a squat, old dog that was as old as her. And she'd sit and stare, really creepy.
And not friendly.
And at one time she parked in our house and tried to walk in the door. And she's like, this will always be my house. So that was an alive human haunting.
Yeah, that's
but
it was an alive human haunting.
So
it's true. There 100% is a alive
haunted haunting.
Oh my God.
I think if there are ghosts, it's leaving an impression of energy in time, right?
Yeah.
And so I bet her energy was left behind in that house. And gosh, I wish I knew about cleansing Zen because I would have never been. No, I would have done it. So in any case, that's the human haunting.
Yeah.
But her husband was left behind in spirit.
Okay.
So I had my babies. My twins were babies. And they had a nursery in a different room than this room. That ended up being my guest room. The one I knew was where he sat and drank his whiskey in his rocking chair. Right? But that became my kid's bedroom was on the other side. And this actually happened to my nanny. She would put him to bed at night or during the day, because this, I guess, when they were little. And to this day, Kylie says that she gets tears in her eyes and she believes in ghosts because of being my nanny at the time. Ooh. And multiple times Oliver would say, the man is here again. The man is here again. And Ollie wasn't old enough to explain more than that in his little 2-year-old talk at the time. And there was a day that she would tell me this and she's like, it's really freaked me out. He keeps telling me about the man that's visiting them in the room. And Ollie always points down the hall that he went back down that way and kind of.
I'm getting goosebumps.
I know. And she said he pointed down the hall and says, he went that way. He always goes that way. And one day she kind of poked the beast with Ollie and was like, where is he going? He runs in his little cute little 2-year-old self, runs down the hall and points to the window and he goes, this is where he sits. This is where he sits. And of course my 2-year-old doesn't know the story.
Right.
And it's literally his window. And there's other windows in the house on that side, but he went to the exact window. And Kylie was with them a lot and her stories are crazy. And that was that. So that always creeped me out. The kids always said it and it was always a male and it was always that.
Could you feel the energy? Did you ever feel it yourself?
I definitely think this house had vibe.
Okay.
It had a vibe. And this is the oldest of all my houses. This house was 1890. And the funny thing is it was a more current haunting, obviously their love story. To tie it up, it's not the spiritual haunting, the human haunting got worse. Wait. I know. I love this. I always love when I think I have a short story and it's not at all.
We've never had a short story.
No, we know. Who are we kidding? All right. So in any case, the human haunting ends like this. But here's the part where it connects with the ghost. I think that she knew he was still there because she ended up, in the early days of living there, she ended up renting 2 blocks away. So she would come with the dog. And it got to the point where the house didn't feel like mine because she was there a lot. It was very disturbing. And she went from being kind on those walkthroughs when we were trying to buy the house to unkind. And she just got mad that we lived there and you could feel. So I think if I ever felt energy, it was hers. But I also feel like he was there and she knew it.
Yeah.
And it was like they were talking through that window. And whenever she'd come, the window she was looking at is the window Oliver pointed at.
Wow.
And she'd stare right up at that window. And it was really creepy. So the final of this is, we had like the up house. It was in the city, but a house.
Yeah.
And there was an apartment building next to us that ran the length of our first floor. That apartment could see in our house and we could see in theirs. And somebody had lived there and it got cleared out. And we saw like the tenants had moved away and it was empty for a minute. And on January 1st, a moving van came and I see the creepy old lady's face in the window. She rented the room next door so she could stare. Thank God. This was the year we moved from there to Boston. If not, I would have moved out of that house.
God.
So she would stare into my kitchen and my family room. So this lady never got over it. And I swear to goodness, it is my belief that they were connecting anyway.
God. Again, we always say, like, they say, like, who knows where we hear from, those things we hear. Like, so they say, like, when the best thing a loved one can do when another loved one passes away is to give them permission.
Let them go.
And, like, be like, you need permission, like, let it go. And she obviously was like, no, I can't. No. And she was holding on to him, and he felt that energy. And obviously her energy was so strong, definitely still connected.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh my gosh. And then she started peeking in your windows.
So anywho.
Now, did you have to disclose when you sold that you thought it was haunted? Because there's no real proof, right?
There's some states where you're supposed to, and I don't think California is one of them. But and I mean, a lot of the true, like the spiritual ones were more like the kids in Kylie, the nanny, like our sweet nanny, who believed in ghosts the rest of her life. So anyway, that's my foray into my old houses. And then I moved here, and the one here was just as creepy, if not more, because they came through me. Yeah. So this house was 1902. Do you catch a theme for my old babies? So this one, again, you would agree that my house looked like a haunted house. My last one, too.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, it did. Yeah. It did.
I mean,
we'll post
pictures. We're putting pictures of all of the above. Yeah. All of the above. So my Main Street house, for sure, from the minute I moved in, I had vibes
like an old Victorian?
It's
okay, that's like what people, if you're trying to picture, like, right? That's like what they are. So you know how old Victorians always have like a haunted house vibe?
Yeah.
Okay,
so my last two have been, So I would hear footsteps down the hall, like we had a long hallway and the kids' rooms were along it. And I'd be like, oh, my turn. I'll get up and get the kids. And I'd come and nobody was in the hall. And I'd go back and Brian was like, no, I definitely heard something. This happened like every other night. This was forever in the house. One of the biggest things that's funny is there's a very specific room that family members only told me after I left because they never wanted to hurt my feelings of one particular room freaked them out. And my poor family members, it was the guest room. And my sister, whenever she'd come to visit, would make me sleep with her, or she'd come sleep in my room and kick Brian out to the guest room. And she ended up telling me later that she felt like a heaviness on her chest, like she couldn't move when she was sleeping. Yeah. Multiple people came out and told me this later. I did not feel that. My dad used to take care of things, like he's the one who'd, water my plants or take care of things when we weren't there. My dad said he never liked to be there alone. And one a couple of times out loud said, I'm just here to help Jenny. Please don't be mad at me. And so this is an energy that other people picked up on, not just us. So I think I was really trying to make my new move happy and not be freaked out. And so I ignored a lot, and so did Brian. But there was one experience in particular you cannot ignore. We had the twinsies. They were still little at the time, I think 4.5, 5. And we walk up the stairs and we're going to put Ollie to bed. And all four of us go room to room for nighttime. Yeah. And Brian and I are first and the kids are behind us. And we walk into the room and Oliver's desk has one of those pen caddies from Pottery Barn Kids. The ones that circle around. Yeah. It's spinning. There's no window open. There's nothing around. It's just spinning. And he looks at me and we make eye contact because clearly we're not saying anything to the kids. And he just looks at me like, do you see that? And I shake my head and we turn back around. The caddy stops spinning and then goes the opposite direction. So it was literally the creepiest thing I've ever seen in my life. And he and I were both to the bone chilled. And I was like, yep. And he said, yep. And we're like, okay, should we even put our child to bed right now? But we don't say anything to them. And we're kissing him goodnight. And while we're tucking him in, the light bulb outside of his hall, the hallway light completely explodes. And so at that same moment, the whole energy of the room was charged. I think I ended up bringing him in my room to go to bed. Brian's like cleaning up the lights, but the energy was
to
like
have a light bulb like explode is terrifying.
And this is within 5 minutes of the caddy spinning, the pen caddy spinning. And like, that was just the creepiest thing ever. Like and from then on, like I knew that I couldn't ignore the footsteps down the hall and things like that. But we didn't talk about it with the kids. We didn't talk about it anything. But
right, keep going, yeah.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, so Ollie's room in particular felt like another room. He would talk very often about there being a portal in his room. And he would say to us, I keep hearing the old time music coming from the portal. So I remember one night he was saying this in front of my dad and I, and we were interested. And so we started pulling up like old time music. We're like, what is old time music? And I remember we like pulled up old symphonies and la la la. And I don't remember what we hit on, but it was something like super old. And he used to say the old time music is coming through the portal. And he had so many, he called it the portal. That was his words as like a young, just turned 5. And like, where does that come from?
Where does it?
Anyway, so like definitely Oliver in Oliver's room. And then I guess the guest room. But in any case, the final year we lived there, I hosted my dad's birthday party, and he and I have always loved ghosts and stuff like that. So for his birthday, we had a wonderful psychic come in and do readings for everybody. And we all went in our own room. Like there was a private room, and one by one, we just did like, a 10-minute reading. This is full circle, y'all, for today. So anyway, the person who came is the person who's going to bless my house. But in any case, rewind. We did readings there. For sure, weird stuff happened during her readings. Like Brian was in there and lights flickered while he was alone with her and stuff. So she comes to our house. It happens. It was a great night, whatever. And I move out. So maybe a year ago, I go and have a reading with the same person, Jill, who you're going to meet today via our talking about her. And she said, did you end up moving out of that house? And I said, yeah, why? She said, oh, thank goodness. That house was so haunted. And I didn't want to scare you, but oh my God, it was haunted.
That is,
yep. Sealed the deal for me. Sealed the deal. So she is the exact person who I am hiring. She does house blessings and cleansings. I'm going to have her come to my old lady and come and cleanse. Don't know what's going to happen. I don't know. Like, I literally don't know. Don't know. Is it mantras? Is it walking through? I have lots of questions about it.
Can't wait.
Yeah, so we're really excited for that. But before I get to that, I just told you all my hauntings because I have a pretty long history with them. You also live somewhere haunted.
Yeah, well, and mine's kind of cool because it ties in with like the blessing. So it was when I studied abroad. So it wasn't here. It was in Florence, and we lived in Florence, Italy. I was only there for a couple months, but we lived in a like student housing that was right by the Medici Gardens, and it used to be the old apothecary for the Medici house, but it was for like the servants. So it was like, I mean, it was hundreds and hundreds of years old, very old.
Centuries.
We'd have to walk up like these like 4 windy staircases on the 4th floor, very high up, very old, and like, it's like student housing. So this is like, and this used to be servant quarters. So this isn't luxury, but it's old and it's cool. And, it's just when you're in a different country, you forget how young America is. It just feels different.
You almost feel dumb for being American.
I know.
Like, the world is so rich and
it's so old and we're so new. And like, even like, a 100-year-old house here is old, but there it's like young.
Nothing. That would be baby.
So I was there with 3 other girls, and it's the same thing started, where all of a sudden you'd be laying in bed and you'd hear like kids laughing and footsteps running down the hall.
Why?
And it was like you'd hear like banging, you'd hear doors opening, doors closing. And like, it started off slow, and you'd hear giggling and you'd hear laughing and you'd hear footsteps.
Giggling might be the most frightening thing you could possibly
It was not a happy, it wasn't like, oh good, I'm happy, kids are giggling. It was like, what the hell is going on here? This is so creepy. And like my roommate who was like my best friend there, like her and I, we weren't sharing the room, and we started getting like, it started like amping up. Right. It was getting more and more and more. And we're like, oh my God, what is happening? And one night it got to a point where it like kind of hit the fan. And honestly, like I was like asleep. I was like half asleep. And I was laying in bed, and like we could like see each other. We're in like the same room, we could see each other's beds. And all of a sudden I'm like almost half asleep, and I feel something like come towards me. Like I feel like energy come towards me. And I feel like someone go like, blow on my cheek. Like, you know, you feel like hot breath. Like, it felt like someone like literally like taking a big deep breath and blowing on my cheek. And I sat straight up and I'm like, oh my God. And like, I felt it. There's nothing else. I could feel the breath on my cheek. I could feel the air being blown. Like a spirit like woke me up. And so me and like my roommate at the time,
Did you
Sarah,
wake her up?
Yeah. Oh, but we were almost like half asleep. We were talking. I was like, oh my God, like we were so close. It wasn't even like sleep yet. It was like, you know, it was like I was like asleep, but like not asleep. You know, it just like felt like so crazy. It wasn't a dream though. So I'm saying it was so real. And she was like, we can't do it. We were getting so freaked out that like that next night we went to a hotel. We had to get out. So we went to a new hotel and we called our parents, like, we need to get away from this house for a minute. Like, it's overwhelming us. And so the other two girls in the house who were like a year or two older than us, like they were from other places in the country, one of those girls, like we had a conversation with them, like we're having like, this is becoming like too much. Like we're not sleeping well. Like this is like, it's like,
you had bad vibes,
it's overwhelming.
Right? It was
it was scary. Energy. It was negative. And it was just like, almost like we were intruding. And like, God knows how many like kids had like, how many students had been there, like what has been happening in that house where these people like leave us, like, or these spirits like leave us alone. So it ended up, which is what fits in so cool about this story, is that one of the other roommates, her dad was a rabbi. And so she called her dad and was like, Dad, we're all freaking out. Like, this is like too much. Like, can you help us? And so he was like, get some roses, I can't remember what else. I remember there was rose petals, and he gave us a ceremony to do. And so literally like the four of us sat there and he gave us like, as a rabbi, like he gave us like little prayers and like something. And again, this was years ago, like when I was in college, but I remember the four of us sitting there and basically asking either for like them to allow us to remain in like peace or to like for them to have like peace, but like it didn't seem like they were leaving. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like our place to ask them to leave. It was more like our place to ask permission to be there without being like harassed, if you will. You know what I'm saying? Like and to ask like permission and also like apologize if like we're in their space and after that I'm not even kidding, it was so much better. We were fine. Wow. It was fine. It was like, I mean, we'd hear maybe footsteps, like it wasn't like they were gone, but it was a totally different energy. It was like we had asked, like, we had been granted permission to be there. We had shown respect, if you will, perhaps. But we had to literally do a ceremony, which is why I'm so excited for your ceremony. Because I really feel like, again, for some these older houses and the energy that's here, like if the energy, like hopefully you can get out the old energy and like it's like now becomes your energy. But even again, to show respect to the energy that has been here, I feel like it changes.
That's right. Well, that's it. Like, I just think that's so cool to ask the permission. And I've read that before, where you could actually ask them to stop or leave, or ask for, you know, like may I be here? Or whatever.
Or like leave me alone a little bit. Like, please, like we respect you. Like, please don't like, I think we're here as like, so that's why I'm really like super excited to see what Jill does and how she approaches it. Because again, that was so many years ago. I don't remember, but I do know that it certainly worked.
Yes.
And I feel great vibes in your house right now, but I still feel like you, with your family, like the house deserves the respect.
I know. I can't wait. I can't wait to tell you. Now, do I want her to tell me there was a spirit here? No, I do not.
No.
But we could hear that, or I'm going to hear coast is clear, which I hope.
But you know what I'm happy about now? Is at least because like we're on the other side and we have this podcast, at least now we can tell her, please be honest, if there was one.
Yes.
Whereas before she was like, don't, So like we want to know.
I'm not
Tell us it all, Jill.
No, tell me. Tell me and then let's get that.
Yeah, let's get it out.
Okay. Or ask for permission.
Yeah.
One or the other. All right.
We're coming soon.
Bye. This is super fun. We haven't done this in so long, where I did something that you don't know how it went, and I didn't share it with you.
I'm so excited. We are in the after of your house cleansing. We were talking about ghosts and the ghost stories and the haunted houses that we both lived in. And
we use the word clear, cleanse, and bless.
Bless, house blessing. Yeah. I love it. Okay. Yes. I love it. So I am so excited, first of all, to hear your story. I'm like ready. I'm on like bated breath. But I think we should share. We don't usually do a mid-podcast woo-woo, but this one was so good that just happened to both of us together.
So occasionally we'll say we're in the mood for a card pull before we do our podcast, right? So we did our typical podcast prayer, and then we pulled a card. But before we did, we were talking about how you and I are leaning too hard on ourselves in our world, in work and family and everything. And we're like us against the world. And,
right, like holding the handlebars, white knuckling,
tight grip. And so we did one card that you pulled, and it literally said, loosen your grip.
Yeah.
And we're like, we're both doing it. And we're finding ourselves in the part of life where we forget that we're supported. So you and I talked about loosening our grips and la, la, la. And I was saying how last year when we were recording, we were so much more in the flow. And it was that I'd even go in a work situation that was scary or intimidating or stuff was happening. And I'd take a deep breath and know I'm not alone. I'm supported. The universe has my back. And the last words I said to us is, we're not alone.
Yeah.
And I pulled our second card, and the title of the card is, You're Not Alone.
And we lost our mind, and we couldn't believe it. And it was such a joint move that happened 1 second ago. And
so
we are riding high.
We're riding high
on the universe and the support. And so it could be because your house is high right now from the cleanse, which is why we're so ultimately supported. But I can't wait. So I'm just gonna let you jump right in.
So I'm gonna give you an option. You have 2 paths to pick.
Oh man, choose your adventure.
So I ended up having kind of multiple awesome fun things to share with you post blessing. We'll call it the blessing for now. One is what happened in my house and what I heard about.
Okay.
2 are the ghost stories I heard about our town. And 3 is what people on Instagram shared with me when I posted about it. Choose your path.
Oh my God. I want to hear all 3 of those things. But I feel like my first one, I have to know what happened when she I need to know. I'm dying to know what happened when she came in the house. And then I want to hear everything else.
All right. We'll start with my house. So do you think that there was anything in my house?
Yes.
Okay.
Nope. Oh! Wrong. Okay.
So to lead up to it, we already talked about this, but before we renovated, the house looked like a haunted house.
Yes.
And I'll post it.
Oh yeah, you did
in Instagram. But
definitely did.
You literally would see it. It's like, the hairy shingles that are old and weathered and worn, and just those vibes. But on the inside, from when I moved in, it just felt good energy to me. And I've said this to you because you've always said, "Is it haunted?" And I was like, "No, it's not." Yeah. And I was right. But that's why I didn't want to lead with the boring part of the story. But I have happy stuff, is that there was no negative energy.
Really?
And before I came in, I had seen her for another reading, and she had just mentioned in passing that renovations, often the really massive ones, I used to think from movies, it would make the spirits mad. But she actually said that they typically will move on to another house, or it could clear them.
Wow.
Now, she didn't mention that here. So she comes in and she has got a bag of tricks. So pictures of this I'll share too. But she brings out cards of the gods and goddesses that are her guides that she has on cards on my kitchen table. She's literally got a bag with fun stuff. There's incense she's burning. There's a candle lit. There's holy water. There's a spritz of essential oils. It's super fun. It literally feels like the spiritual Ghostbusters has arrived.
This is so cool. Yes.
I knew. I was like, oh my gosh, why is Kristen not with me today?
This is so good. I'm so into it. Keep going.
Okay. So she brings the bag of tricks, and then she basically says, walk me through your house, and then we're going to get into it. So I already know while she's walking through the house, she comes back downstairs after we've gone through the floors and back to the kitchen where her stash is. And she says, I really thought I'd find maybe something. She's like, the energy's great here. I just want you to know that.
That's such good. Isn't it a relief though?
Yeah. And then our after part is, before we get into it, I was like, I have so many questions for you, about ghosts and what you found and other things. And so the greatest part is that she's not a person who just leads in I'm going to make you happy right now and lie to you about the good vibes.
She's not.
We actually had probably 20 minutes of awesome ghost stories.
Ooh, I'm so happy.
And more energy stories, but ghost filtered in. So it's not this isn't something she finds. In fact, she said our town is massively haunted.
Wow.
And she's so busy in our little seaside town because it's it's so old.
Yep.
It's one of the original spots that we landed, right?
Right.
And then we have the indigenous people that lived here before. So anyway, there's crazy cool stories. So that going into that, I just totally hear the house is clean.
That's so cool.
This is the best feeling. And then the next level of it was that as she ended up going through it, she said not only was it no negative energy, that the vibes were so high here. It was one of the top 2 houses she's ever been to with happy energy. And a part of what she said immediately, which we picked up, and we'll tell you in a future episode, that when we went to Miraval, I had the download that the elements of the trees and the water and the rock were a part of grounding of this house in this moment. Instantly picked up on it.
She did?
She called it the elementals. She's like, the elements are so strong in your home. And she's like, and they're happy and celebrating you being here. You and your family are giving off amazing energy that she's like, you're giving back to the world, and they feel it, and they're so in support of you here.
That is amazing. I was like, oh my God. That's like, because you said it felt like a vortex where everything like met all the different elements. I mean, like the trees, the land, the water, rock, like all of these elements connected to you. And you said you felt that.
I felt that.
And
that
the
was
fact that she brought that up.
She brought it up.
That's really neat.
And then you're going to love this. I will skip to this little part because you just said the ding, ding, ding word. The exact word, when she went through my house, she had 2 rooms that she went like this and like had a breath take away from her. One of them was my closet dressing room.
This is amazing.
And she said, the energy is so beautiful. There is a vortex of spirit here, of positive energy. And I said, this is where I meditate. And she said, wow, I felt it when I walked in. By the way, my house was cleaned up. There was literally no giveaway that that's my meditation space. And then the second thing that was so cool that tells you when you're naturally intuitive, I have a fur on my ground, a sheepskin fur. And she actually said, oh, well, then this is perfect for your meditating. You have that for meditating intentionally, right? And I said, yeah, because it's cozy. She said, oh, no, a cowhide, like people actually buy them for their meditation space. They're an aid in meditating and helping transmute negativity and lift something up. And there was like, I meant to Google it before I talked to you, but there was something. Because the fur is like, there's something about the sheepskin fur that's like, in support of meditation, that people actually get them for that reason.
Oh my God.
I've had one in my meditation space my whole life. I've never heard that or read that.
Well, you know what's funny is we were just in there, like a couple weeks ago, and we were just like checking it out, and you were like, oh, you're like, look at this, it's real fur. Because we don't usually do real fur. It's a lot of like fake fur and stuff that's like faux fur. You have to feel this.
Yes.
You literally pointed out that rug to me.
Yeah.
Like, you have to feel it on your feet. Like, and you're like, it feels so amazing. And I think you even were like appreciative of the fact that it used to be an animal. You know what I'm saying? You're like, oh, I want to make sure like we appreciate this. And like, that's so funny that she actually
totally
said that.
Yep.
And like, that's like a real thing.
Yeah. But then she said the word vortex on her own.
That is
which was one of our epiphanies.
Yes.
And so she like reiterated stuff that she would have no way of knowing.
When she was going room to room, was she like chanting or like was she okay.
So that was why I felt like I could skip to that. So our first walk through the house, we talked like you and me walking through, like if she was a friend seeing my house for the first time, and she was like, wow, this room has a good energy, and asked me normal questions about the renovation. That was when she actually talked about the closet. And the other room, by the way, was Belle's room.
Oh,
she said,
I love that.
wow, her energy is like super special. There's such a special spirit to the girl who resides in this room, which is so sweet and cool to hear that.
Of course. The best.
Yeah, so awesome. So anyway, we walked through it, go down to her stash of things, and she said, would you like to be a part of the ceremony? I'm going to have you do one thing for every version of what we do. And I said, awesome. So she said, we're going to go through the house 3 times. Ooh. And to answer your question, we don't talk during these 3 times. Ooh. So the first time through the whole house. Now, when I say she goes through the house, she's literally walking the perimeter of every room in our house, not missing a room, not a bathroom, even peeking in closets. So 3 times through the house. So it's like an hour. Like you go through your whole house. So the first one, she has a drum, and she gave me holy water. And so my job is to do the holy water and spritz it where I was called in the room to follow her while she's doing the drum.
Was it like a spray bottle, or was it like...
No, it's like a little squeezy bottle.
Oh, okay.
And so I put it in my hand and then kind of like spritz my hand, spray my hand. So... which I was like very awkward about. You're like, how much do I put on? And like, I've never touched holy water. Like, what am I doing? Am I going to like lay it on fire right now?
Am I going to burn?
Right.
Am I going to
so she starts with a prayer at the door you use the most, which was interesting. It wasn't our front door.
It's your side door. Yeah.
It was the side door. And she's like, that's the one that is the door that you use the most. So she started with like just a beautiful prayer. It was to God. It was actually to Catholic saints. It was to literally every spirit it could be, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah. Like
and it started with a really long prayer. I instantly felt energy and goosebumps. And she's got her drum. And she says the first walkthrough is about clearing any crap or negative, stifled, any stagnant energy in the house. And that's why the holy water is paired with the drum, all right? So says to me in advance, I'm going to chant. And that's what
she's a good chanter.
She's awesome.
It's actually really like
you feel it.
I felt it. Like she's the only person I've been to with chanting, and it is trance-like, right?
It's trance.
And she like knows, I don't know if she knows a different language, but it's not like English. It's
Sanskrit.
It is Sanskrit.
It is.
Okay.
And it's
I've heard her do it before, and it's beautiful. She's got good rhythm, and you're like, whoa, I can see like how people get into
you vibe it.
And
there's definitely like a heartbeat to it and an energy. So she starts at the door, and that's where she like stops her prayer midway, and she goes, by the way, just so you know, and this woman's a psychic too, so she actually doesn't even advertise that she does this, right? She typically does psychic readings. She puts the drum down, she goes, I just got a hit. You're going to write a book in this house.
Which we've heard before. Oh my God. She is a book. She loves saying books.
No, it's your psychic you gifted me that told me I was going to write a book, and I'm a writer.
Is she the book lady? Oh,
no, it was
so
your psychic.
Good.
So I
love that.
And then she said that was when she instantly was like, wow, this house is so supported. The elements are so strong here and beautiful and happy you're here. Like the elementals are celebrating your presence here.
Oh my God, that is amazing.
I couldn't help but think that a part of us like podcasting in here was a part of the positive energy she was vibing. Like you and I cleanse and pray, and we're like trying to put good light and love in the world. And it made me feel like that. Anyway, so that's was like, so awesome. So she returns to her drum.
Love the hit. I love she got like an intuitive hit.
She stopped, like she was like, wow. She said the energy here is awesome. And so the spirit of this whole blessing, and it could have gone anyway, you know?
Yeah.
Was so beautiful and joyful, and not what I was expecting. Like, I ended up feeling high as a freaking kite. Like, I felt so good and happy and one with the house and joyful.
Oh,
and it was like the house was smiling during this. Anyway, I digress. We go through the whole house with the drum and the holy water.
Yep.
We come back down. She reiterates, like, it is so happy. Like, there wasn't even stuck energy. I think it's partially the renovation, but like, there's just, you have a joyful, clear and clean family, which made me feel good.
That's awesome.
I think probably even negative, like, electrical energy and stuff was gone. So we had to redo everything, which we didn't know. And I felt good that we did it after hearing how clean the house was. So the second was protection.
Oh, this is good.
And this is where she burns. There's a bowl of a powdery incense that was really cool and like kind of magic-y anyway. And you just light it and it burns from the center. And she said, watch it because it'll have images appear. So it was up to me on this walkthrough.
And you held it? You were holding it?
I got to hold it through the house, which stressed me out a little bit. As I was like, to keep it burnt.
Yeah,
and am I doing the right thing? And I'm smoking it the right way and like blowing on it. Yeah. Anyway, but cool. Anyway, so I walked through with this cute little bowl of incense, and it has like a lot of my walkthrough, it burned a heart shape, which I thought was pretty cool. And she was doing a rattle, and that was to really clear anything lingering.
Rattle. Oh man, she does have a bag of tricks.
She has a bag of tricks.
Wait, does she do this for like regular house? I feel like we're so focused on this for like your renovation and the fact that we thought it was a haunted house, or I did. But like, I want to have her do it just for my house.
Exactly.
Like a regular, just like a newer build.
So exactly right.
I'm doing this.
No. Everyone should do this. What it is like, so think about this. So when we go back to us being spiritual spirit, that a house has an energy, that land, she was very, very big. And I think it's partially because the house, as old as she was gutted so much. It really felt, and this was actually Brian's interpretation afterwards, was I wonder if the house was so open and like gutted that it became one with the land again. And I thought that was really like prophetic and beautiful, and made sense with a lot of her own observations. That she said, your house is so filled with light and windows that you're looking at every element. It's just so in support of the home. And it felt like his observation kind of felt right and cool. Like,
right? It does. It makes a lot of sense.
To like echo what you're saying. So even if you have a new build, we kind of geared it toward, is my house haunted? Do I need to remove negative energy? Who wouldn't just want like anyone to bless your house? God. Or the land itself has an energy.
Right.
Like,
I totally
stuff happened on your land before your house was.
So much.
In fact, where you are would have been woods where the Indians would have been.
Exactly.
Like, so the Wampatogs.
Yeah.
She had a name that wasn't what we usually know. Gosh darn it, I wish I wrote it down, but we were walking.
Yeah.
Anyway, but your land and my land, we had this like great community, unfortunately, that doesn't exist anymore, but they're here in spirit.
Right. Yes.
So anyhow,
yes.
So she's walking through. We're doing this. We're doing the rattling.
And this is all silent. You guys aren't talking during this, right? Just
We're
noise.
not.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
And so, like I said, I'm just walking, and I'm becoming one with her mantra. I go in and out of being a normal person of like, how long is this going to last?
And then is the fire going to go out?
And is the fire going to go out? And then when I would let myself cue into her energy and her mantra, I would get the best chills and the best energy. So it was really, really awesome. So we go up and down. And then before we go to the last one, which is a blessing, she's like, oh, I forgot about your lower level. Like, we should clear that before we go to the blessing. And so just for knowing, like, so for the lower level, in order to save money and time and whatnot, we stopped the lower level renovation, but it's partially done for future. And she was like, well, you're going to live down here, so let me go down and bless it. So she went down there, and it opens to, like, you know, the land and the water. That's the floor where we open the doors. And I was dying laughing. So she has the drum again. Yeah. She pulls it back out. We have the drum and the holy water again to go down. Okay. And while she's doing the drum, she goes, I'm not holding the drum right now. The natives of the land just joined me, and they love that you're here. They're like so in support of you. And just that week, I had gone on the captain's walk that talks about that was where they camped in the summer and had their camps. Their summer camp was like where my house was. Wow. And it's on a historic plaque outside of my house. I just noticed it. And I don't know if Jill knew that or not, but she said, they're so one with our chanting right now. They're like here with you and supporting you. And they love that your family's the one in the home.
Oh my God.
But she said, but your meditating energy, because of course I had confirmed I meditate here. She said that energy that you're giving is giving back to the world. Like what you're doing in your home is giving back. And it's being noticed. And she said, they're like chanting with us right now. And I had the greatest chills. But what I was also dying laughing at, so she's outside my house. She becomes so one with this moment that outside of my house on my busy street, next to my neighbors, fully doing the drum. And she's like, well, you come out to your neighbor. So we're chanting like half outside, which is kind of funny.
You're spreading holy water.
And I have holy water, and I'm like sprinkling it.
So good.
Anyway, all right. So that layer. So at this point, we know the house has been cleared. It has been cleared and
it's
cleansed.
Like the best news too.
Yeah.
I mean, like talk about like getting high in your house. It's
high
awesome.
in my house. And then the last layer is like where she says, what prayers or wishes do you have for our house? And I was like, that love happens to here, that my children feel peace here, prosperity when we live here, you know, all the things that you would wish for, but really she's like that it's a home of creativity and curiosity and
I love it.
Like all the things you want. And so she then goes through with a bell, and then I went through with an essential oil she gave me. That's a special like brew that she created, and it's in a spritzer. That one was the easy non-stress thing to go through. That was just spritzing everywhere, and it smelled good. And so that was our final walkthrough. And honestly, at that point, I'm not kidding you, walking through the house, I was like, I hope this feeling never leaves. It was like on glass number 3 of wine.
Wow.
Or if you had taken a gummy, the house was happy and buzzing. I actually messaged you. Yeah. You have to walk into my house right now. My house is high.
Yeah. You said,
it was so happy and awesome. And she did tell me afterwards, just like the best, most beautiful things, like the energy of the house. She said on the top floor, where you and I are sitting and recording, is a place of broadcast. She does not know that this is where we do our podcast.
That is wild.
But she said that this is meant to do this.
That is the best news.
I know.
Honestly, it's literally like you could not have asked for a better blessing, reading. Mm-hmm. I mean, nothing negative. That is so awesome.
Isn't that cool?
Oh my God, it's awesome.
Yep.
I thought we were going to hear like about handcuffs in the top, you know?
I know. So cool. Anyway, she said, but you're supposed to have people at your house. You're supposed to entertain. You're supposed to your house is going to give back. And the elements that support it are going to create an energy that will make people feel good when they're at your house. So, dreamy. That's what I want to hear.
Oh, my God.
Did I want a drama story? A little bit.
Yeah, I did too. I'm like, oh, my God. Yeah.
So my report on that is very wholesome and happy and loving. And yay.
That is, oh, my God. Congratulations. Yeah. That is the best. And I totally want to do that.
Yep.
I feel like I'm loving that she goes through and feels the energy and also does the blessing and can hit on things that you've said also. It's so reaffirming.
Well, that's it. When the repeat concepts of how we had that download of my dressing room where I meditate being a place that with all the tree, the big, huge tree and the rock underneath me and the water, we felt the sense that this was and talked about it.
Oh my God.
And then she said it on her own. And then the writing, which she reiterated from a past psychic reading where someone else had said I was going to write.
Yeah.
Which isn't in my plans right now, though I used to write when I was younger.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Very, very cool.
I also think it's funny that she said up here is broadcast.
Yeah,
broadcast.
It's
like you would never think,
energy.
Right. And you would never think that you're going to like sit in a bunk bed.
Which we literally posted. We're literally up here doing it. Anyways, felt awesome.
That is awesome.
But I did want it to have ghost stories. Although, I mean, thank goodness.
No,
I actually don't think I could have slept here. Even if I knew she like read it, I think I'd feel a little agita. So I will share. I did ask her, one of the first things when we started was I asked a bunch of questions and she was like free flowing about it. She, like I said, so our old seaside town has like quite the past. Like our oldest homes in town are 1700s and the cemetery gravestones. So it makes sense. Our land on the water was where like the first settlers came and where there used to be an indigenous population here.
Yeah.
So there's just so much energy here. And she told me like, I don't even really go outside this area because there's so much to be done here. And she's like, there are some like crazy bad energies. So she, by the way, it started with this. And I was like, oh God, what's she going to find here?
Yeah.
So I had heard, so there's so many stories. So down, and I'll go ahead and just spit it out for anyone local hearing, down near the Beechwood Cemetery.
Okay.
There is a house that she just had gone to very, very recently. And I think they were friend clients. They didn't tell her the story of why they wanted her there because they were actually kind of testing her to hear what she came up with, which I love that.
I love that. We love a good test.
So this is really funny though. So she was there and she said she went through the house and she felt an energy of a woman, and very specifically that the woman was attached to the husband of the house. And that she was like jealous of the wife and attached to the husband.
The husband that's alive.
That's alive.
Whoa.
And when she went through it, she's like, okay, there is a spirit that we need to get rid of because she feels like he's hers now. And they were like, wow, we wanted to hear what you came out with. We know that's a woman. She has been haunting him. And she said that just the other night, the one that was like the doer in caller to get the house cleansed was that she was looking at her husband in the middle of the night. She woke up and saw wavy lines near her husband, like where the air like got funky, like almost like something was in her eye, but it was something wavy. And it materialized to a form like a woman, and it looked like someone was kissing her husband. And that was literally just happened to her.
God.
And so she said, I had to like do crazy mantras to rid this lady. And she actually said, and this is funny, she's like, often I'll try to like have someone pass on, but I was just trying to help them in that moment, and I didn't do a pass on one. She goes, I think the spirit went to the neighbor's house.
No, I know.
I got so into that story, I just banged my head.
God. So, but did she know if that spirit like used to live in that house and that's why it's there?
So she had gotten the sense, I guess, not like she actually saw a woman looking at her. So she had a visual hit too. Sometimes it's energy, sometimes it's that. And she said she knew it was something like flappers. 1920s Prohibition era was what she got. And then the people who live there, they're next to the cemetery.
Okay.
And across the street from the new Beechwood General Store that's being built. And they said when they unearthed the ground there, they found a bunch of Prohibition bottles. And there's definitely like something was there that was Prohibition era, and it's linked like this spirit might be just in
from the
neighborhood.
land, from that area.
And here we're back to the land.
God.
It's not necessarily the house; it's the land or the cemetery.
Oh my God!
How cool is that?
Yes, that's a crazy.
Yep.
Crazy story.
Yeah, so that was cool. Around the corner from me, she said, was the most negative house she's ever experienced. It's one of the like crazy estates that are super old. And she said that her sense when she went through the house, they had really scary things happen, like negative, like where people fell and got injured, like creepy.
Felt like they were pushed or
yes. Like really scary, like bad juju. And this is like around the corner on that one drive. And you know the drive I'm talking about. It's like the Atlantic on the water drive.
Oh, yeah.
And she said she got the sense that this estate used to have eyes wide shut parties where nefarious happenings happened, where like there were like cult like there were ceremonies and creepy things with people. And there was like a cover up of a pregnancy, and something happened with the baby. She couldn't tell if it was a stillborn or a choice, but where like someone who worked at the house got pregnant by the owner, and that there was a haunting of this. And she said that this one was so negative that she said, this is not for me to clear, you need a shaman, and got her in touch with a shaman to come in and do next level clearing. And that's like one of the homes around the corner.
Wow.
Yep.
I actually love that
Eyes wide shut.
I love that she was like, nope, not doing it. Like, I like that she like also knows her limits.
She knew
which
her
again
limits.
makes me feel like more validated, more in on her.
Yep. So she had her shaman friend come and take care of that, which I believe she did, and nothing ever happened again. But she said she had to do a lot to clean it.
It's so
But she very
crazy.
specifically had the sense, but how cool is that there were creepy, like eyes wide shut, like sex parties.
That is
Like very specifically.
That is so wild. Yeah. It's also like so interesting, like how people can clear the spirits.
Yeah.
Like, remember I told you my place in Italy, how we like called like the girl's dad, and she was like, he's like, do this, and we felt better afterwards. Yeah. It is amazing and like such a gift that there are people who can like help the spirits either leave or go, or like protect the people inside.
Yeah,
like
it's protection, and it's good for these energies that need to move on too, right? Like transmute them, whatever. So yeah,
the eyes wide shut
I guess, but I love it because we're in a creepy. I don't know when we're gonna let this come out in the world, but we're in Halloween time, so it's particularly fun thinking and talking about the creepy stuff right now. But apparently our town is just brimming with it, which is so fun and cool.
That is awesome.
So yeah,
oh my God.
So she had so many stories.
Any other one last good one?
Well, what I'll give you is like, here's the fun part. I told you the third prong of the story was that on my home Instagram account, which is interior design stuff, I went ahead and like waved my freak flag this week and said that I did this. And so many people came out of the woodwork being like, I want to do that to my house. Like so many people. And so I got filtered into my Instagram a whole bunch of ghost stories from people.
So good.
So someone in the next town over, and I'm like hell-bent to get Jill and her connected because she needs them, said that the energy in her home is so negative that the day they moved in, her children, she had twin boys, one of her boys got their hands shut in a door and broke their fingers. And like a month later, her husband fell down a staircase and felt like he was pushed. And currently, she said her children have nightmares every night of their life. She said, can you please give me this person's contact? Like, I'm not even kidding. I want to like pay for it and like follow up with her and make sure she's okay. But I got that story, and I'm really hoping we get a follow up that I said, please report back to me and please do reach out to Jill. So that's wild. Another reach out that's hilarious is, so we talked about in the before part was at my last house.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so my last house, so while this one is clear and clean, I'm happy to say, my last house, there was stuff that went on. And so I asked Jill, because she had been there and she had said that house was haunted. She like confirmed. She said she felt it was a male spirit who thought it was our house, his house, not ours. And he said he didn't like Brian or I, but liked our children, was okay with them. So he hung out near them.
Oh, you always thought, you always knew that he was near Ali, especially. Yeah.
And so a funny part about Instagram was the woman who bought the house from me asked me, wait, has she ever been to the house that I own now that you used to own? And I had to say, yes, she actually said there's something there. And I felt so bad about it. But anyway, you can call Jill if you're listening to this. And then one I got this morning was so cool. So I had no story left about this house, right?
Right.
No ghost story. But I had heard that pretty much a lot of the women, there was very much matriarchs along the way, like good, strong women that lived in this house. And I knew that like 3 owners ago, there was a woman that, and I knew from her children that had reached out to me when they found out I bought it, that this house was like one of the loves of their mom's life.
Yeah.
And I've actually wondered, like, was her energy here? But I've never felt it. And also because I followed back on Instagram, I've always thought, just knowing spirit and form, she never stuck to the house. She was a loving mom. I think her energy went with her family. But I did wonder about that. Anyway, maybe she was here or not. I don't know. But someone who's never said hello to me on Instagram ever Instagram me this morning and said, hi, I used to own your house for 10 years. Not this woman, because she passed away. A woman who has never said hello to me said, I lived in your house from blah, blah, blah to blah, blah, blah. When we moved in, there was a ghost in your house, this house we're sitting in, and said her and her family heard baby crying when there was no baby, and she heard footsteps down the hallway. So she said one day, she just kind of spoke and said, we don't want you here. This is our house now. Please leave us alone. We'll take good care of it, but please leave us alone. And nothing ever happened again.
Wow.
And she was a couple owners ago. But she just reached out this morning.
And randomly said that.
Yes. Yep. So maybe there was one after all, but I thought that was empowering to say, like, here you go. Here's we can get rid of things ourselves.
Right.
So if you're listening and you feel anything's wrong, she did say holy water and prayers.
Yeah.
So what's so funny is, we think about the Sanskrit or whatever. She's just going back to any religion.
She's just connecting. She
said, say prayers in literally whatever your religious belief is. And holy water or your version of holy water. And she said Palo Santo or incense. Because I said, if someone doesn't have a you to reach out to, what can you do? And that was what she basically said.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And I love that woman reaffirmed that she was able to kind of do it herself when she felt it.
Right.
Oh my God, this was awesome.
It's so cool.
I'm so going to do it too. Maybe I'll have a after.
Oh my gosh, let's follow up.
Oh my God, great job. So cool.
So cool.
She did awesome.
Yeah. So highly recommend. Super fun. Happy to hear my house is clean and clear.
Oh my God, this is the best. All right, well, that's a great after. And I'm so happy to be high in your house with you.
We're going to log off right now and enjoy the high vibes.
Thank you for listening. We've loved being your spiritual travel guides and hope this made you feel more connected. Please leave a review on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast player. Your reviews help us create the guide that you are looking for. We'd also love to hear your stories.
You could follow and share your experiences with us on Instagram at So Guided Podcast. Your story might just be our next weekly woo-woo. Join us again next week as we continue to dig deeper into the universe. And remember, stay curious, ask the questions. You are so guided.